And we're gonna do some yoga here. So let's start out seated today. And as always, if you find that you are just naturally a little tighter in your hips, it is really helpful to sit up on something. So whether that's a block or some blankets, a couple of blankets. And if you're, especially in early morning too, so our bodies are like a little tighter. So it's not as easy. So it might just be nice to sit on top of something here anyway. And let's all start with our right shin crossed in front. And as much as possible, you're going to try to cross in the center of your shins. That may or may not happen, but move in that direction. So knees are kind of coming out directly from hips, maybe slightly wider. You can find a little flex of your feet if that's helpful. And then just rest your hands on your thighs. They could be by your side. Feel your shoulders lining up over your sit bones, root down there, and then close your eyes. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go. Ha. Do that a couple more times. So full, complete inhale. Really fill up, maybe pause at the top. See if you can sip in a little more air. And then sigh the breath out. Sigh the week out. It's all done. Have a couple of days, hopefully, to chill and not worry about work life. So a few more breaths like that at your own pace and your own time. Kind of cueing the brain here with the breath that you're gonna move a little, you're gonna focus on your breath the next hour, you're gonna pay attention to your body. So you don't have to worry about all of the rest of the world for the next little bit. And then eventually we're going to start to find that inhale through the nose. You're constricting the sides of your throat a little bit, so there is a sound. It's like ocean waves. And then you're going to make that same sound as you exhale the breath through your nose. So dropping into your Jai breath, and it might take a few rounds to find the symmetry of the inhale and the exhale. Really allow your attention to go to that sound of your breath. So using it as this nice tool to quiet the mind. Of course, you are going to be distracted by sounds happening in the room around you, outside of the room that you're in. And then louder, of course, than all of the things in the external world are the thoughts that usually start to kick up. So that's going to happen. That's okay. When you notice that you're attaching to those thoughts or kind of taking that journey with them, just smile, come back to your breath. You might have to do that 1,000 times the next hour. So we're trying to find these little pockets of quiet. Sometimes they're really, really little, but we start to string more of those together. It has this nice calming effect. So before we sit here just a moment, I'm not going to talk. I'm going to really let you dip into that quiet space. Do make sure that you're not gripping anywhere here. So have you started to hold on in the inner thigh a little bit? Have the shoulders come up around the ears? Is there any tension in your face and jaw? Soften in those places. And then just listen to your breath for about a minute or so. Good, beautiful work here. So you can either blink your eyes open or you can just keep them closed if this feels good. We're gonna reach our arms up overhead. So about shoulder distance apart, maybe a little wider. Spread the fingers, palms are facing in towards each other, and then just imagine that somebody is gently pulling you up on your wrists. So you're getting a little more lengthening through the sides of your waist. And then let's interlace our fingers here. So palms face towards each other, and then press them to face up towards the ceiling. And you're gonna feel a little stretching across the sides or the backs of the shoulders. Firm up the upper arm. Good. And then keep rooting down into your sit bones. Take a nice deep inhale here. As you exhale, start to lead with this lowermost left rib and just find a little twist here. But keep that action in your arms. So they're active. It almost feels like our downward facing dog arms. Nice work, everyone. Good. Come back to center with your torso. Release your right hand off to the side. And then let's find this nice little lateral stretch here through the left side. Left sit bone is going to want to pop up. So anchor down there. Pretend that I'm there in the room with you, just gently pressing down. You can spin the pinky side of that left hand down towards the floor. So you're getting a little internal rotation in that shoulder socket. Maybe you start to bring your gaze up underneath that top arm. Nice work. Kitty cats in the yoga practice. Breath smooth and steady. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Ooh, as I fall off my blanket. All right, and then here, let's just bring our gaze down over that right shoulder, so that just might change where you're feeling the stretch in the neck. Good. As we inhale, we come back on up. We're going to recross our shins. So extend legs out to straight. Take that left shin in front. This side may feel different. So this could be your tighter side. Might feel a little easier. It might be easier to cross in the center. So just kind of filling it out, noticing what's different. And then find those sit bones again, root down. Feel the shoulders stacking over your sit bones, getting all of that length through the sides of your waist. Hands on thighs again, just drop in here. Listen to that rhythm of your breath, that inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Nice and steady, just using this breath as a tool to help focus and quiet us. Again, our shoulders creeping up around ears, soften them down. Are you gripping in the thighs? Release there. Is there tension in your face, your jaw? Let that release. So yes, there's effort to sit nice and tall here like this, but there's this sense of ease as we sit here as well. So again, you're welcome to just keep your eyes closed here. If it feels better to have them open, soft gaze, that works too. We're going to inhale, stretch our arms up overhead. So a couple breaths here. Engage the arms, find lots of length. Inner arm is wrapping towards your outer arm, and then interlace your fingers and go for the way that feels funny. So the way that's a little awkward. And then press your palms up towards the ceiling. Might be a little bend in your elbows. You're going to feel a little stretch in the outer arm, across the backs of the shoulders. Keep rooting down into your sit bones. Nice deep inhale. Find lots of length through the sides of your waist. And then as you exhale, it doesn't have to be very deep at all. Start to twist to the left any amount. Really try to direct that from that lowermost right rib. It just comes along for the ride. Maybe observing how the breath feels a little different here, especially the inhale. Anytime we come into these twists, there's not as much space for the breath. As we inhale, we come back to center. Release your left hand off to the side, root down there, also root into that right sit bone. Inhale, take that left arm up and over. I always think that this side stretching feels so good. If you're a little more flexible here, you can walk your hands a little, that left hand a little further out, potentially even coming onto your forearm or forearm on a block. If you do that at the expense of lifting up that right sit bone though, just back out a little bit. And then here we're spinning the pinky side of the right hand down. It's like you're gonna spin that palm to face behind you. Maybe you gaze up underneath that top arm. You're gonna feel a little stretch on the right side of the neck as you do that. And if it feels too intense, you skip that. You just bring your gaze to a place where there is a sense of ease. Good, and then let's start to look down towards that left shoulder. We move in that direction. It just kind of changes where you're getting that sensation in your neck. Good, as you inhale, come on up. Nice work. Go ahead and move any props out of the way. Come to your tabletop position. So setting up for your cat-cow. Like our morning coffee. That's what we're gonna call cat-cow. All right, so shoulders are over your wrists. Look down at your fingers. You want them to be spreading a little bit. So you could just imagine that your hands are duck feet. So there's that webbing between. You really want to stretch that webbing out. Feels a little awkward, but it offers a lot of support to the wrist. So it helps us to strengthen there. And the knees are underneath your hips. Gaze slightly ahead of your fingertips. So nice and gentle in front of you. As we inhale, we arch into our lumbar, maybe firm down into your shins. Nice. As you exhale, you go in the opposite direction. So vigorously press the mat away with your arms. Let the back of your neck lengthen and release. Inhaling, arching. So chest comes forward through the gates of your shoulders. You're gazing forward. As you exhale, pull belly button towards the back, ribs round into the thoracic, the upper spine. And then continuing like that. Finding a pace that feels good in your body this morning. You're not too fast. You're not too slow. You're just right. So we're trying to introduce a little movement into the spine here. These look really nice. We're especially trying to let the neck kind of open up and release, especially as we come into that cat stretch. And it can be really difficult to let the back of the neck go. We're so used to holding our skull and our brain up all day. So find a little of that sensation. Nice work. Couple more rounds. So on your next inhale, come back to neutral spine. You're neither arching nor rounding. So it's like somebody could have a picnic on your back there. And then just make any little adjustments that you need to. Again, check in with your hands. Make sure that fingers are spreading, you're pressing evenly. Gaze slightly ahead of your fingertips. Engage your lower belly so it squeezes in a bit here. All right. We're going to keep our gaze forward. Lifting from the inner right thigh. As we inhale, we're going to stretch that leg back and up. The tendency here is to open up that hip, resist that urge. So keep releasing that right hip down and then feel your outer hip squeeze in and up. Notice if you started to arch a lot in your lumbar, pull your belly button towards those back ribs. So you're just nice and flat here. Keep rooting into that left palm, right palm rather, and then stretch your right fingertips forward. Right hand, lift it up. I'm sorry, I didn't say that well. So right arm lifts and extends forward. So left arm lifts, right leg is back. Nice work. The tendency is to drop the head here, gaze back behind, keep looking forward. It's going to help with the balance, what's going on with the breath. One more deep inhale, nice work. Exhale, release down. So come back to your tabletop. Okay, so the same idea, really lifting, nice and even, squeezing the hips in, outer hips in towards the center to feel that containment. Go ahead and inhale, lift your left leg up. That leg is really active. Your inner thigh spirals up. Your toes are pointing down towards your mat. Keep pressing down into that left palm. Stretch your right arm up off the mat. Reach forward. It's like you're going to reach out and shake somebody's hand. Maybe plug that arm into the shoulder socket. Breath smooth and steady. Are you holding it? Sometimes we do when we're in these balancing poses. Good. One more deep inhale. Lengthen a little more. Really great tractioning for the lower back here. As you exhale, release. All right, and then let's do a little wrist stretching here. So from your tabletop, we are gonna go ahead and externally rotate our right fingers. So you just go to the place where you're feeling a little stretch. Some of us can get all the way around. A few of us are gonna only turn out a little bit. If this is easier in your body, you can do both hands at the same time. Otherwise, one is good. And then play around here. So I find rocking forward and back feels really nice. And you can hold at any place. So as I come back, I start to feel this intense stretch in the back of the lower arm, the forearm. You can go side to side. Make little circles, so just kind of getting into the wrists, which get really tender from all of the work that we do on computers. So if you're doing both sides, just stay where you're at, just continue exploring that. If you just did the right side, go ahead and turn those fingers to face forward and then externally rotate any amount that left wrist. And then right away, you're keying into how this side might feel different. Is it about the same? Is it a little harder? Is it a little tighter? And just finding any movement. You're still breathing. Even though this can be really intense. Good. So go ahead and flip those left fingertips to face forward, both hands if you're doing that. We're going to sit back on the tops of our feet. So you're just lengthening the toes back. All right. And we're going to press the walls away. So fingertips point up towards the ceiling. I feel this a little bit in the wrist. I actually get more of a stretch in the arm, which feels pretty good. And then release your fingertips down. And then it feels like you're going to curl the fingertips up towards your inner wrist. Good, release down, come back to your tabletop. So here, this is probably gonna be a one-hand endeavor for most of us. We are gonna flip onto the top of our hand and then press down into the floor. So, and you might mostly be on fingertips, but then you can start to straighten that arm. So pretty intense. Like I said, probably one side is gonna feel better. Just doing one at a time is going to feel better than doing both. That being said, you are welcome to do both. And then again, just finding some movement, breathing. It's always these like seemingly little stretches that kind of pack the most punch sometimes. This little series of wrist stretching is really good to do a few times during the week on your own. You don't even need to be in a tabletop position. You could do it against a wall or even on top of your desk. All right, so let's bring those right fingertips to face forward and then flip onto the top of your left hand so your fingers are pointing back towards your knee. Little forward and back, side to side, circles. You can pause in those places where you're getting a nice stretch. Hello, wrists. All right, so flip back on top of that palm, sit down on your heels again, and this is a nice little stretch for the top of the feet. This can actually feel intense. Okay, we're gonna reach our right hand out, And then just pulling gently with your left fingertips, start at the pinky, take a few seconds, and don't overdo this. Just pull enough so that you're feeling that stretch in your fingers. Really get that middle finger. We always want that one loose and limber so we can do mudras in traffic. You heard it here, folks. They taught me that in teacher training. And then you just gently switch off to that left hand as you're ready. Good. Come forward into your tabletop again. So one final move here. This time we're going to use both hands. So we're going to turn inward. And again, the degree, it doesn't matter. You just kind of feel it in your body. And I actually feel this less in wrists. You might feel it a little bit, but you're going to start to feel a little stretch in the shoulders. So energetically want you to press the outer wrists in towards the center, in towards the fingers. So you start to engage the upper arms. So you're going to feel a little stretch in the shoulders. And then you can rock forward and back, side to side. Almost feels a little bit like downward facing dog arms here. But you might get a little stretch as you go side to side, the inseam of that upper arm. Good. Return fingers back to face forward. Sit back on your heels one more time. Good. Reach your arms out, make fists, and then start to circle the wrists. Go in the opposite direction. All right, give the hands a little shake out. And then come to your tabletop. Walk your hands forward. So hopefully wrists are feeling a little stretched out, a little easier. Spread fingers, curl your toes under. Keep a nice deep bend in your knees as you start to stretch the sit bones up towards the ceiling. Let your neck go so your ears are lining up with your biceps, your inner arm. With this deep bend in the knees, it takes some of the work out of the hamstrings, the lower back, kind of stretches the toes a little bit, which feels nice. Let's stay up on those left toes as you exhale. Melt your right heel towards the floor any amount. It does not matter if it gets there. Breath smooth and steady. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Inhale back up onto those right tippy toes. Exhale. Melt that left heel back. Feel those inner arms wrap towards your outer arms. So you're trying to find a little widening across the backs of your shoulders. Back up to both tippy toes. Any amount. You start to melt your heels back. You may start to straighten your knees a little bit. A little bend in the knees is nice, however, especially if you're a little tighter in the hamstrings, the lower back. And then taking a few breaths here again, really let the back of the neck lengthen and release. It's hard to do, so you're just basically gazing between your toes. Nice, Aaron. And then start to nice and slow, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Take your time, take several steps. And when you get to the top of your mat, we're gonna find our Uttanasana, so keep that bend in your knees. Feet hip distance apart, second and third toe pointing forward. So you're bending your knees so much that you can lay your belly on your thighs, grab opposite elbows. And then let's just sway a little bit from side to side. Good. Change the cross of your arms, the opposite arm and elbow come on top. Nod your head, yes. Nod your head, no. And then release fingertips down to the mat. Let the back of the neck Really lengthen and release. Nice and slow. Start to press into your feet. Feel the arches lift and engage as you begin to roll on up, stacking your vertebrae on top of each other. No rush at all. And when you come all the way to standing, you can roll your shoulders back a few times. And then let's just do some arm crosses here. It's kind of back and forth. Good. Releasing your arms by your side, so palms face forward. So you're standing nice and tall here. Again, just gaze down at feet. They can be closer if you feel steady there. Hips distance apart is always really nice. So sometimes what happens as we stand here is we start to kind of overarch in the lumbar. The booty kind of sticks out. So gently release your tailbone down. Find that lengthening through the sides of the waist, that openness across your heart. And we begin to flow here. As you inhale, you can take your arms out and up. You can reach forward and up if that feels better, if that's dictated by the space you're in, good. As you exhale, you hinge forward, folding in. Uttanasana, let the back of the neck lengthen and release. You can have a little bend in your knees here. Inhaling, you come to your fingertips on the floor or hands on shins or thighs is even better. You can press there and then extend your chest and gaze forward. Nice work, you got it, Jess. As you exhale, you fold in. Inhale, press into your feet. Stretch arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. So that was our half Surya Namaskara, half sun salute. Just a beautiful way to open up the body. It's like a little advanced version of our cat-cow. Inhaling, reaching. Hold on to all of this length you have through the sides of your waist. As you exhale, fold in. Always you can take a little bend in your knees here. Inhaling, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale back into that full forward fold. Pressing into your feet, stretching your arms out and up. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. So we're back in our Samastitihi, even standing. A couple more of these. Inhaling, reaching up. Let them feel really good, feel really spacious and graceful here. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Exhale, fold. Pressing into your feet. Arms reach out and up. Good. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. So I'm not going to cue you these next 2 rounds. You can just follow along with me. If you know what you're doing here, close your eyes and just move with the breath. So 2 rounds, no hurry. Enjoy these. Let them just feel really yummy in your body. And when you're done with your second round, no rush to get there. You can just stand with your arms by your side or palms together at your heart. Checking in with your breath again. Just checking in with how your body is feeling as we start to warm up and move a little bit. All right, so let's reach our right hand down and then inhale, left arm comes up and over. So again, we're finding that little lateral stretch. Notice if all the weight starts to shift into that left foot. Keep pressing evenly. Pinky side of the left hand spins down. Maybe gaze up underneath that left arm. Good. So let's exhale. Release that left arm down. Inhale, right arm reaches up and over. The more you stretch through those left fingertips, the more you're going to start to get this really lovely stretch, side stretch through that right side. All right. So this time, let's inhale, bring the body up to center. Left hand meets the right hand. As you exhale, you hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Keep your right foot forward. As you exhale, step your left foot way back. Land on that left knee. So just getting into a little hip stretch, a hip flexor stretch here on that left side. If this is really tight in your body, and on a Saturday morning, nice and early, it can be. Hands on blocks or books is really nice. It just brings the floor a little closer to you. If you're a little more flexible here, if you're wanting a little more stretch, slide that left knee back a little bit. Breath smooth and steady. That inhale through your nose, that exhale through your nose. Good work. And then we're going to come back into our little half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. So you start to bring your hips back over that left knee. You draw the right hip back, left hip forward. Blocks are especially nice here. Can begin to point the toes up towards the ceiling. That's going to intensify that stretch you're feeling behind the right knee and the right hamstring. So you can back off of that a little bit if you need to as well. This is intense. Keep the breath moving here. All right, so let's come forward again. And then heel toe that right foot off to the right an inch or two, and then bring both hands to the inside. Blocks are probably going to be very nice here. All right, so pressing down there. It might be enough just like this, so kind of a little lizard stretch if you want to begin to roll to the outer edge of your right foot. Oh. You might have to do a little praise Jesus here. So you're going to start to feel that a little bit in the glute. You're going to get a nice little inner thigh stretch. You don't want any sensation in the knee here. So if that is happening, just come back to the inner edge of that right foot. Couple more breaths. All right, so let's come back to just that low lunge here. So you can heel toe your right foot in, bring your hands up to your right thigh. So find all of that length through the sides of your waist, directing your tailbone down. Inhale, arms reach up. Grab your left wrist here. Feel those outer hips squeeze in. It's that sensation that we had when we lifted our leg in our tabletop position. Start to lean off to the right. So getting this lateral stretch again. If you're feeling adventurous, if you want to challenge your balance a little bit, maybe you start to bring your gaze up and underneath that top arm. If you fall out, it's no big deal. It's not terribly far to the floor here. Good. Inhale, come on up. And then as you exhale, we're going to plant our palms down, curl your left toes under, and we're just going to step our left foot to meet our right foot at the top of the mat. Inhale, chest lengthens. Good. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, press into your feet, stretch arms out and up. Good. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Inhaling, reaching. Exhale, fold in. Maybe you're folding in a little deeper as your hamstrings start to open up. Maybe you're not, that's fine too. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. Keep looking forward as you exhale, step that right foot way back. Land on your right knee. Make sure you're not on a tightrope here. You can always double up your mat or slide a blanket underneath that right knee if you need to, if it's really tender. And then again, just getting into this big hip flexor stretch. So the front of that right leg, this is super intense. And I think yoga is always a little more challenging first thing in the morning. It's a great way to start the day. But having just woken up not too long ago, there's a lot of cricks and creaks in the body. So recognize that you might not be going as deep as you would if you were doing this a little later in the day. That's okay. As long as you're getting a stretch, you're where you need to be. Use props. This side might be different. Good work. So from here we start to 2, come back into our half splits. So you're directing that left hip back. They're gonna land over that right knee, both hips. And there's this little scissoring action happening in your legs here. So the right hip is drawing forward, left hip comes back. As you begin to flex this left foot, you're gonna feel that stretch, that back side of the leg. You might even feel it a little lower left back, which is really nice. Keep breathing. It's only yoga. Good. So we walk forward again, and then we find that little lizard stretch. So heel toe your left foot off to the left a couple of times. Maybe you turn the toes out slightly. If just being here is intense enough, you stay like that. Hands on blocks is really nice. And then a couple of us might play with rolling to the outer edge of that left foot. So it just gets into this interesting place in the leg. You can always use the word interesting to describe something when it feels like, what the hell is going on here? Just an FYI. Breath smooth and steady, making little adjustments, and especially choosing to back out if that's where you need to be. I think it's really hard to go in that direction. We are kind of conditioned to accomplish, to do things the very best we can. Sometimes the best is to do less. All right, nice work here. So roll back to the inner edge of that foot if you took that variation, heel toe foot. So you're not on a tightrope here, you're on train tracks, but bring that left foot back in a little bit. And then hands come to that left thigh. So we're directing our tailbone down. We're finding this length through the sides of the waist. Inhale, arms will reach up. Left fingertips come to right wrist, pull up, get taller there, and then squeeze the outer hips a lot. You're gonna feel that right glute especially engage. We want that. And then you start to lean off to the left, maybe bringing your gaze up underneath that top arm, moving in that direction. All right, as we inhale, we come back to center. As we exhale, palms plant, curl your right toes under. Step your right foot to meet your left foot at the top of the mat. Inhale, chest lengthens. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, press into your feet, stretch arms out and up. Nice work. As you exhale, hands come together at your heart. Okay, so as you inhale, arms reach up. Come to your tippy toes here. And then nice and slow, outer hip squeeze in, lower belly pulls in and up. We start to bend our knees. Ooh. Kind of like passing through a little modified chair pose here. And then we're gonna come to a seat. It's okay if you plop down. Again, you might be sitting up on a blanket here. So let's do a little more hip stretching. So sort of a seated pigeon pose here before we come into a couple standing hip openers. So feet can be pretty far forward, but you do have a bend in your knees. We're gonna take our right ankle and cross it above the left knee. Flex this right foot a lot. And then already I'm getting a pretty intense hip stretch here, that right hip. So you can just stay here like this. Maybe you press that right hand into your right thigh. So just trying to create a little more space in that lower right waist. Try to continue to sit tall here, and you can have those left fingertips behind you to help you find a little height in your spine. If you feel like you have a little more room still to go, you can scooch your sit bones a little closer to that left heel. Otherwise, you just stay where you're at. If you're watching this video on YouTube and this is just not working, you might simply come to your back and do your reclining pigeon here. So both really good variations. Couple more breaths. Good. So if you scoot it in, scoot back. Just give yourself a little space. Release that right leg. And then actually let's extend our legs here, give them a little shake out. And then bend the knees again. So this side might feel a lot different, especially the hips. There can be a pretty noticeable discrepancy. So crossing that left ankle above that right knee, flex that left foot. Fingertips can be behind you to help you sit nice and tall. If you're sitting up on blocks, your fingers might need to be on, if you're sitting up on blankets, your fingers might need to be on blocks. Maybe you take this left hand into the thigh. So you're trying to find a little more space in that lower left waist. Keep breathing here. Send the breath to the outer left hip. This is intense. Finally, if you want a little more and you can scoot your hips in, but still maintain that height, that length through the sides of your waist, you can do that. We never want any sensation in the knee here, so that's why we're flexing the foot to help engage the muscles around the knee. That being said, you can always back out or do the version on your back. All right, so scoot, sit bones back if you took that variation, uncross. Shake the legs out, and then just roll onto your back. Give your knees a squeeze into your chest. And a couple of options to come up to upright. So if you're feeling playful and adventurous today, maybe you start to rock forward and back, get a little momentum. And we're gonna see if we can rock up to our chair pose. It doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes there's a run to catch yourself nice, Erin. You can also just roll off to the side. And then we come to standing. So if you do have blocks or books, just make sure that they're at the top of the mat. And we're gonna move towards Warrior Two, Parsvakonasana, and then our triangle pose. So just again, getting a little more into the hips. So here we go. As we inhale, arms reach out and up. As we exhale, we hinge forward, fold in. Inhale, chest extends forward, gaze comes forward. So for today, we're just gonna step back to our downward facing dog and make any adjustments. So feet, hips distance apart. All right, as we inhale, lift that right leg, outer hip squeeze in. Good, as you exhale, step that foot through. So you are on train tracks, not a tightrope. Maybe a little bend in that back knee. As we inhale, we rise up into our full crescent pose. So feeling that nice stretch on the left hip flexor. Good. From here, start to heel toe your right foot to the left twice. Spin into the back edge of that left foot. So we are right heel intersecting left arch. Release arms out to the side. Notice if you're leaning forward. Notice if your torso is turning forward. So torso is facing the long edge of the mat. You're sinking in nice and deep in this front thigh. Make sure you're not gripping your toes. Press more to the inner edge of the heel and then firm. Imagine there's this wall behind you that you're firming that right knee into. So the tendency sometimes here is to try to square this left hip. Don't worry about that. You're letting that left hip release down. So our hips are not on the same plane. Okay, from here, we are gonna start to hinge forward. So think all of that lateral stretching we've done. Reach, reach, reach. It's like triangle pose in the upper body. Couple of options. Elbow to thigh. Block behind the foot is really nice because then it is like your arm becomes a wall that you can glue this right knee into. And as you do that, as you start to feel this inner right thigh wrap towards your outer right thigh, you get this intense little hip stretch. You might feel it a little bit in the glute. Notice if this left leg is getting lazy. Seal into the back edge of that foot. Gorgeous work. As you inhale, see if you can lengthen a little more through the right side of your waist. Exhale, spin those right ribs up towards the ceiling a little. Nice adjustment, Erin. Yeah, Jess. Okay, so let's just transition into our triangle pose from here. So you might need to move the block. Put your brain above the muscles in that right knee. Start to firm that leg towards straight. You're probably gonna have to walk your block back. If you're hyper flexible, think a little bend, little micro bend in that right knee. And then maybe it might feel good to scoot that back foot in a little bit if you don't like a wide stance in your triangle pose. So shoulder blades are stacking on top of each other here. And then I want you to think of your torso as a little parallelogram. So right side, left side, nice and even. You can be gazing down, forward. Perhaps you start to bring your gaze up. And let's just find a quick little shoulder stretch here. So start to spin your left palm to face behind you. Bend the elbow. Grab a piece of shirt. You might be able to get your fingertips to the inside of that right thigh. Wherever you're at, you're pressing that left shoulder head back a little bit. Ooh, intense. Keep breathing. Inhale, stretch that left arm back up. So release the wrap if you took that. All right, so don't overthink this. As you inhale, you start to bend that right knee. Come into your Virabhadrasana 2. Good. As you exhale, hands windmill up and over. Step back to your downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. And we take that little sequence to the second side. As you inhale, your left leg lifts. Exhale, step that foot through. So we are on train tracks, feet hips distance apart. As you inhale, find your full crescent pose. Feel that yummy stretch on the top of that right hip flexor. Good, and then heel toe left foot to the right. Spin into the back edge of that right foot. We are heel to arch. Release your arms, so torso parallel to the long edge of the mat. Sinking in nice and deep in this front leg here. Are the shoulders creeping up around your ears? Soften them down. Good, working gazes just soft and gentle out over your left fingertips. Keep the legs exactly like this. Think triangle pose in your upper body, so you start to hinge forward at that left hip. And again, elbow to that thigh or hand to the block. So we have warrior 2 legs, triangle pose, upper body. Inhale, lengthen through the left side of your waist. As you exhale, spin those left ribs up. It's the tiniest little amount. And if you're thinking, oh my God, this pose, I corroborate that it is indeed a very challenging pose to learn to love. It took me a lot of years. It's a good one though. As you can tell, it's stretching out a lot. It's strengthening a lot. Okay, so from here, we're gonna transition to our triangle pose. So start to firm the muscles above that left knee. That leg's probably not gonna come all the way to straight. You can have your fingertips on a block or books behind that foot, or you can take your hand on your thigh or shin. Good, Aaron, lengthen a little more through the left side. Yeah, and then spin those left ribs up. Ah, that was it. Really nice, Jess. Notice if that right leg is falling asleep a little bit, seal into the back edge of that foot. Gaze can be down, forward, or up. You're finding a place that feels good in your neck, and that shifts day to day. It doesn't always look the same. Getting into that right shoulder, start to externally rotate. So you spin that top palm to face behind you, bend the elbow, and then you can kind of just firm the back of your hand into the lower left side. Maybe you can get your fingertips to the inside of that left thigh. Wherever you're at, you're just trying to press that right shoulder head back. And you're breathing. This is not easy. Couple more. All right, go ahead and extend right arm up if you took the wrap. Don't overthink this. As you inhale, arms come up and over, bend that front leg, left leg. So Virabhadrasana 2, nice, Jess. As you exhale, windmill arms up and over. Yep, and then you step back to your downward facing dog. You take a nice deep inhale here. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, ha. Good, so from here, we're gonna shift forward into plank pose. It wouldn't be a complete yoga practice with at least one plank. So shoulders land over your wrists. Reach back through your heels, squeeze the outer hips in, and then lower to your knees. As we exhale, we lower down onto our belly. So we pass to our chaturanga, elbows squeeze in, shoulder heads lift, nice and slow. Yeah. Landing on your belly. So just a little bit of belly back bending here. So let's release our arms by our side. You can just rest onto your forehead. You're pressing into all 10 toenails. It feels a little bit as though you're rolling to the outer edges of your feet. And then feel your glutes fire up a little bit so they're squeezing in. Palms are facing in towards a midline. Keep rooting down into your feet. Feel the tops of your thighs heavy as you inhale. Chest extends forward and up, so it lifts up off the mat. Arms can lift. So nice little stretch in the shoulders. These belly back bends are so wonderful for strengthening the lower back. And we always think of core strength as being completely related to the front. These back muscles are just as important. Good. One more deep inhale. As you exhale, release down. So we're going to do that variation again. If you have the flexibility in your shoulders and you can interlace your fingers at the small of your back, you're welcome to do that. And I suggest just keeping a little bend in your elbows as we come into this. Otherwise, arms by your side is really good. That's a nice variation, especially if you're tighter in the shoulders. Guys tend to be a little bulkier, so this works for you. All right, so whatever variation you're doing, same thing again. As you inhale, think lengthening forward, so chest extends forward and then lifts. If your fingers are interlaced, you can start to lift your wrists up a little bit. If you are hyper flexible in your elbows, don't overextend. And then if you'd like to add your feet, lift up. One more deep inhale. Good. Exhale, release down. So one more here. So if you interlace your fingers, change the interlacing. As we inhale, we root down into our feet, into our hip bones, our pubic bone, chest extends forward and up. Nice work, Jess. Beautiful. So neck is nice and long. You're not looking, you're not throwing the head back. You're not looking down, kind of just forward. Maybe lift the legs. And these are intense, so you always come down when you need to. Good. Exhale, release. Bring your fingertips underneath your shoulder heads. Elbow squeeze in, shoulder heads lift. Just moving into our low cobra. So as you inhale, same thing. Chest extends forward and up. Exhale, lower. You're not pressing into your hands to come up here. You're generating the work from your lower back. So you don't have to lift very high. Inhale up. Good. Exhale, lower down. Couple more. Make sure you're pressing to the outer edges of your feet. Inhale, extend forward and up. Exhale, lower. Inhaling up, holding here. And then lift your hands up off the mat. That's going to tell you if you're pressing into your hands too much. Good. Place your hands back down. Keep them planted where they're at, but then feel like you're going to drag the mat back towards your heels. You might get a little more extension. Beautiful, beautiful work. Exhale, release. Nice and easy here. We press back to child's pose. And it might take you like several breaths to get back there. So we just did lots of back bending. So you're going to feel this in the lower back. You can even waggle your hips back and forth a little bit. And then from here, slowly start to roll it up. So we're going to come back to our Sukhasana. So how we started class, we're going to turn this into a forward fold. So again, sitting up on top of something, if that feels, if that helps you to find that length through the sides of your waist, we're going to cross our right shin in front of our left. If you are able, if you have the flexibility in your hips, if you can stack shins on top of each other, you're welcome to do that. That's going to take the stretch. It's going to be a little more intense. If this right knee pops up a little bit, but you still want to try it, just give yourself a little support. So block underneath that knee. Otherwise, just crossing shins. They're the same stretch. And then maybe you'll want blocks in front of you, depending upon how tight your hips are. As you inhale, arms reach up. And then as you exhale, hold on to all of that length. Keep rooting into your sit bones. Start to hinge forward at your waist. So hands might need to rest on blocks. You might be able to bring hands to the floor. If that's you and you're close to the floor, maybe you slide the block underneath your forehead. So just giving yourself a little support, which feels really nice. And if you're not close to the floor, no worries. If you're near a coffee table, you could always rest your forehead there. And then key into your breath again. So you can continue to do your ujjayi breath here. If you want to let go of that, continue to inhale and exhale through your nose, but start to stretch the breath out. So the inhale gets a little longer. The exhale gets a little longer. Jessica, knees. Okay, ankle. All right. Yep. What you're doing is great. A few more good breaths here. So this is your opportunity to go in a little deeper if you need to. Maybe going in a little deeper means coming out of the pose a bit. So we're always kind of, we're always trying to find that intelligent edge, that intelligent stretch. We don't want to cross that line. So we don't want pain, we don't want injury. Good. As you inhale, slowly start to roll on up. And then extend legs to straight. Crossing left shin in front. And again, if this is not feeling good for any reason, you could be doing this stretch on your back. So you're reclining pigeon, so left ankle above right knee. If you're seated here, go ahead and inhale, reach your arms up, find that length. Exhale, fold in. If you're on your back here, again, foot is flexing to protect the knee joints, maybe taking your left hand into your left thigh, gently pressing forward. You might even bend that right knee into your chest, reach your hand through that triangle, interlacing fingers either around the thigh or the shin. And just kind of easing your way into this hip stretch. These are intense. There's always a lot of sensation. There's different sensations side to side. So kind of just noticing that, noticing what's going on in your body. Good, and if you're on your back, you just stay there and cross that left ankle. If you're in your double pigeon, just start to walk your hands back in. And then let's all come onto our back here. Hallelujah. Thought it would never come. When you get there, give your knees a squeeze. Maybe a happy baby will feel nice. So either pulling down on your thighs, you can grab the outer edges of your feet so elbows come to the inside of the legs and pull down. Can rock a little bit from side to side if that feels good. And then maybe you want to hook your big toes with your peace fingers, so middle and index finger. Straighten the legs, so kind of like a little laying down Paschimottanasana. You're gonna feel that hamstring stretch. It's fine if you have a bend in your knees. Finally, if you'd like to take your legs out wide. So supine Upavista Konasana. And then from here, bring the legs back in, one final squeeze. Begin to make your way into your final resting pose, Shavasana, whatever that looks like. So it might be classic, legs extended wider than hips distance apart, arms a little wider than shoulders distance apart, palms facing up. If there is any tugging or sensation in your lower back, you could take your legs up onto a chair, bend your knees, take feet wide, allow knees to knock in towards each other. You could roll up a blanket, place it underneath the knees. So a lot of little variations, but you want to be really comfortable and relaxed here. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Open your mouth, sigh the breath out, let it go, ha. And then soak up these final quiet moments. Just kind of set the tone here for the rest of the weekend ahead. It's going to be chill and lovely. Shavasana. Good. Let your next inhale be deeper. Let the breath go. Ha. Wiggle fingers, toes, bring a little movement back to your body. Circle ankles, circle wrists. So stretch out. And staying soft and quiet, you're going to roll to one side or the other. Just pause there a moment in the fetal position. And then you're going to use your hands to help you press up to a comfortable seat. So we've been here before. It feels different now, hopefully. Perhaps there's a little more space in your body, a little more strength, a little more ease. Notice how your breath has shifted this past hour. So an interesting thing happens when we start to pay attention to it, when we start to stretch it out and deepen it. And as a result of that mind-body connection, hopefully your headspace is feeling a little easier, you're a little more calm and focused, perhaps even feeling a little joy. Send yourself love and gratitude for showing up, for making the effort, especially on a Saturday morning, not always easy to do. Promise yourself that you're going to carry this feeling with you into the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend ahead. Bring palms together at your heart. Just bow your head with a smile.